So I request everyone to be seated at your seat kindly. Yeah, everyone is having, I think, very intense discussion. Yes. Ha, şunu taksana. Bıçak elbette. Bıçak elbette. Good evening, everyone. So we'll start our prayers, but before that, we will do our proper motivation. So setting up a proper motivation, which consists of three parts: refuge field, bodhicitta field, and the aim of the practice. Refuge field. Visualize in front of you Buddha Shakyamuni. So it's just a guided meditation. Page number 4. Visualize in front of you Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness 14th Dalai Lama, and all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They are looking upon you with immense kindness and unconditional love, as a mother looks upon her only child. Bodhicitta field. Seated on either side. Visualize seated on either side your two kind parents, your mother on the left and your father on the right, and you are accompanied by all dear mother sentient beings. You are leading them in the practice, and the aim of the practice is to manifest Buddha nature, which is the ultimate source of happiness, by removing the two mental obscurations, both afflictive obscurations, afflictions of negative emotions, contaminated karma, and all their corresponding active imprints, and cognitive obscuration, the subtle stains, that is, the inactive seeds of afflictions and contaminated karmas. With this, now we will recite the prayer that is on page number 4. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I have independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, and no sameness. Straight to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace which is freed of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the Bodhisattvas and Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all leads hearing, seeking pacification to complete peace, who through the knowledge of all paths cause those helping migrrators to achieve the aims of the world, and who through the possession of omniscience subduers expound a variety of teaching. The one who has transformed into a reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sukata, and protector, to you I make prostration. The one who has eliminated the web of conceptualization and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays. To you, the Buddha, I make prostration. So today we're gonna read both the verses in Tibetan and in English, both in 3 times each. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. Of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chotang sogi chonam la chanchu pardu dani kepsuchi dagi jinso gibe chonam ki dola panchen sangye dubarsho. Sangye chotang sogi chonam la chanchu pardu dani kepsuchi dagi jinso gibe chonam ki dola panchen sangye dubarsho. Sangye chotang sogi chonam la chanchu pardu dani kepsuch dagi jinso gibe chonam ki tola panchen sangye dubarsho. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. The essence of dependent origination mantra, so we will recite it for 3 times. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum desham tathagato hevatat desham jayo nirodha evam vadi mahashamanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum desham tathagato hevatat desham jayo nirodha evam vadi mahashamanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum desham tathagato hevatat desham jayo nirodha evam vadi mahashamanaye swaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear-light and non-composite. Such is the nectar-like dharma I have discovered. Finding no one to fathom this teaching, in silence I will retire into the woods. Beyond utterance, thought and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unseen and has the nature of space. It is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas of the 3 times, I pay obeisance. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of all. I go for refuge in the Guru. At the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, please liberate all beings of misery. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teaching until the end of experience of billions of eons. The Buddha does not wash the negativity of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hand. His spiritual realization are not transferred to them. It is by teaching of the truth of suchness that beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your old self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is a grasping, you do not have the view. So we recite the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the fourth destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, of the gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subdue from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offering and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you are born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then, I prostrate, with pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, flame that blesses in the 3 world, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. Face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparable wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the Tathagata I prostrate. The purities that free one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realm, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realization, who are devoted to the moral precept, to you the Sangha I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous action, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of a dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through this merit may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the four of falls, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. So we will recite the Heart Sutra mantra. It is on the page number 18, 7 times. Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Swaha. 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 So we will recite 8 verses of mind training on page number 21. With the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and be respectfully hold others as superior in all my deeds. Okay, we'll stop here. So I request if anybody wants to join to do prostrations, 3 prostrations, and then we'll light the lamps.
Thank you, Lamola. Good evening, everyone. So please join us for offering the light to enlightened beings. And when we offer the light, you are, I think, who were there in the first session, it was explained for others. When we offer the light, just imagine that, okay, first we offer the light to anybody who you feel inspired to. It's not about you offer the light to Buddhas, or you offer to light to, anybody you feel inspired to, you should offer the light. Offer the light. Make sure you imagine all, especially your parents, your friends, and dear ones, and if possible, all sentient beings, offering light to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and all other beings who are your source of inspiration, and then you offer the light. Okay, so please join. Also, before offering the light, we'll do 3 prostrations. So whoever wants, please join us. The same motivation. Can you tell the page number?
It's on the page number 9, last one, with folded hands.
Okay, so page number 9. Let's recite it together. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom.
With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hand, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hand, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom.
Folded hands,
of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom.
With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom.
With folded hand, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hand, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hand, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hand, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hand, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hand, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hand, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for
all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. Thank you, everyone. Please take your seats. Okay, good evening, everyone. Very happy to see you again. And I heard that there are a few new participants also. So that means what? We have to do a quick recapitulation of what we learned in the last two sessions. Anyways, it will be good for everyone. Okay, so what we did in the last, okay, how many of you were present in the last two sessions? And how many of you are here for the first time? Okay, good. Very good. So welcome you also to the Panorama Series 3. And I heard that we had a group discussion before the class. Yes, how many of you were there? Wonderful. And there was a group discussion last session also. So I think by now you know each other well. Yes. Good, that's very good. Okay, so we are going to be together for 1 month. So just make sure that you interact with each other more, and then you ask questions and clarify doubts. Okay, good. So after the class we won't have group discussions, but we can take the questions. Okay, here. Okay, so recapitulation. What we started with is what was the starting point? Okay, I think we need mics now. Don't worry, it's not a test. Okay, memory is an aspect of mind or body? Mind. And what are we studying? Mind. So it will be good to deal with the memory now. Okay, so okay, what we did in the last class was, what we started with is what we are studying in these two sessions. Psychology, philosophy, epistemology, logic, what? Psychology. So what we are dealing here is with the psychology part of the Buddhism or Buddhist panorama. Okay, so what we did is okay, so first we did is the whatever. Okay, just tell me if you agree with me or not. Okay, what we learned is that whoever we are, whichever part of the world we belong to, or whatever we do, the basic aspiration, the underlying aspiration is what? Underlying aspiration is happiness. What, you want word happiness? Should I write this and give it to you? We want to be happy. Okay, that we all want happiness, and don't go for the shortcuts now. It's the time now, it's the third session, so you know so much. So try to phrase complete sentences and help me, be kind to me. Okay, so what we learned is that the basic aspiration is that we all want happiness and want to shun what? Miseries. Okay, this is the purpose of this whole panorama course. Okay, and this is basically the purpose of your life, to be happy. And then we also learn that it is not about the happiness only. If possible, what degree of happiness we all want? Maximum happiness. In other words, 100% happiness. And if it's possible, we want 0 miseries. Okay, so we want 100% happiness and 0 misery, and there is nothing wrong in it. That is our right to be happy. Okay, we put a lot of energy to be happy. Finally, we don't want to be unhappy and then do all the things we do. Okay, so with this we learned, okay, so finally we learned that we all want to be happy and do not want suffering. So with that purpose in mind, what we are studying is the psychology. Okay, with that purpose, if the purpose is very clear to you, then this psychology you will enjoy. Okay, whatever you do, you will enjoy finally. Okay, so you should be able to link whatever you do with this basic aspiration of yours, basic meaning of your life, which is to be happy. And to be very honest, if you can just link it with your basic aspiration, which is to be happy, this basic desire, which is to be meaningfully happy, you will see many of the unnecessary complications you can easily avoid. Do you agree with me or not? I'll just give you one example. Okay, for example, using harsh words, especially towards who you use harsh words. Can you give me answer? But who is the person who you think you can use harsh word and still won't be a problem later on?
Parents.
Parents, especially our mothers. Do you agree? Yes. So when we use harsh words, what we think? That if we can at that moment, forget about, at the heat of the moment, you may not be able to link it. But if you do this reflection more and more, then if you can connect with this basic aspiration of that, what I want is happiness, and what I'm doing is using harsh words. So when you use the harsh words, are you happy or not? Just ask this question to yourself. Don't give answers to me. So your job is, after studying this psychology, after doing this panorama course, at least you should engage in self-reflection, that whatever I am doing, I should ask this question to me, whether it will lead me to my basic desire or aspiration, which is to be happy. If it is leading me to that, fine. If it is not, then it's the time to ask questions to yourself and change a little. Okay, slowly. Okay, don't take drastic steps. Try to change slowly. Finally, I want happiness, and what I'm doing, my actions are total opposite to that. So I have to think again, okay, what I'm doing. Okay, so with that purpose in mind, what we learned is the true nature. Okay, now I need help. True nature of our mind is very pure. True nature of our mind is very pure. When it comes to the true nature of our mind, there is no difference between the mind of an enlightened person and the mind of every one of us. When it comes to the true nature of our mind, true nature of mind is endowed with all the positive qualities. Okay, tell me the positive qualities of the mind you want to acquire. Okay, everybody will tell me one quality at least. What quality of the mind you think that I would like to have? Calmness of the mind. Okay. Compassion. High intelligence. Next. Contentment. Kindness. Wisdom. Love. Then peace. Yes, peace. You knowledge. Then any positive quality you think that I should have this, like sharpness of the mind, is it a positive quality? Swiftness of the mind, is it a positive quality? To be able to make decisions, right decisions so quickly and so swiftly, is this a positive quality? Yes. Do you want to have that? Okay, so we all want this positive quality of the mind, and when it comes to the true nature of the mind is endowed with all these qualities. Don't think about 2, 3. When you don't think about the positive qualities, it's just like okay, what we learned is the true nature of mind is very pure. Pure means finished. When somebody asks you, what do you mean by pure? It's pure. What do you mean by pure? It's saintly pure. What do you mean by pure? It's purity. Okay, so don't leave it there. Try to explore this. What are the positive qualities of the mind which I don't have and I want to have? Laziness, is it a quality of a mind? But is it a positive quality of a mind? No. Do you want to be endowed with this? No. So when it comes to the true, and what is the opposite of laziness? Active state of mind and enthusiasm. Okay, do you agree with perseverance? Joyous effort. All these qualities, all these good qualities are endowed there with your true nature of a mind. Okay, true nature of mind is very pure in these aspects. Okay, don't leave it on the pure nature of true nature of mind is just pure. Okay, in what way it is pure? It is freed of all the mental defilements. Okay, in technical terms, it is freed of all kinds of mental defilements. Okay, now next question is, what are these mental defilements? So you are going to learn this during as a part of the philosophy. Just for your information, broadly speaking, all mental defilements are grouped into two. What are two? Okay, just write that: afflictive obscuration and cognitive obscurations. What are the two mental defilements which obscure the true nature of mind? Afflictive obscuration and cognitive obscurations. Okay, I'll say it once again: afflictive obscuration and cognitive obscurations. Okay, what are the two mental defilements? Okay, what are the two kinds of mental defilements which obscure our true nature? Little louder. And cognitive obscurations. Very good. So now you learn two things. Okay, just tell me if you agree with me or not. Okay, two things. One, the true nature of our mind is very pure, endowed with all the good qualities, with no limitation at all. This is the one point you learned. Second point you learned is that it is, at the moment, is it visible in us? Do we have laziness? Do we have unkindness? Do we have sometimes very okay, do we have anger sometimes? Yes. So all these negative qualities are there which we don't want. Okay, which we don't want, we are endowed with that. So the true nature of mind is obscured. So these are the 2 points that you have to know. One, the true nature of mind is very pure, endowed with all the good qualities. And in simple word, it has the capacity to achieve maximum happiness 24/7. Okay, in very simple word. Now second thing you learned is it is obscured at the moment. Okay, at the moment it is not visible. So from these two things, what can you tell me, which we did in the last class? Okay, if something is very pure in nature but is still obscure, can you deduce that we have the potential to unravel that? And what is that potential known as? Okay, somebody said that at the back. Okay, give the mic.
Tathagata Garba.
Wonderful. So from this you can get to know that we all have the potential to unravel our true nature. And what is that essence of perfection known as? Tathagata Garba, or Buddha nature. Okay, so the true nature of mind is obscured at the moment. Obscured by what? Two mental defilements. What are the two kinds of mental defilements? Afflictive obscurations and cognitive obscurations. The details will follow. Okay, but at the moment it is obscured, and because it is obscured, we all have the potential to unravel that true nature. And that potential, or the essence of perfection, essence of maximum happiness, is known as Tathagata Garba in Sanskrit, and in English, essence of perfection. Essence of perfection. Each one of us, it is not that, and not only human beings, all sentient beings, anybody who is endowed with the mind. Okay, this is information for you. Anybody who is endowed with the mind, known as sentient beings. Okay, sentient being, they have this potential known as Buddha nature or Tathagata Garba, means essence of perfection. When it comes to the Buddha nature, we all are same. Okay, when it comes to Buddha nature, we all are same. Okay, good. So this was the quick recap of what we did. Okay, and then what else we learned? Very good. Subject and object interaction. Okay, what we learned is the subject object. Okay, now finally we learned that, okay, we all want what? Happiness, and we do not want miseries. But at the moment, are we 24/7 happy? No, sometimes miseries are also there. Okay, so how does sometimes miseries arise, sometimes happiness arise? How it happens? What is the mechanism through which sometimes you experience happiness and sometimes you experience misery? What is the mechanism you learned? Very good. Through the interaction between the two things. What are the two things? Subject and object. And what is subject? Your own mind. Okay, in this context, your own mind. And what is the object? Anything your mind interacts with becomes your object of the mind. Anything your mind interacts with becomes the object of the mind. Okay, that is very important. Subject object interaction. Now finally you learned that whether you want happiness or want suffering or do not want suffering, that depends on the interaction of the two things, subject and object. So this interaction is important or not? This interaction is very important for us. Okay, and to know this, okay, and not only the small things. How many of you were in the first class? Did you learn about immediate goal and the long-term goal? Did you learn about the long-term goal also? Can somebody just quickly say what is immediate goal and the long-term goal? Mike. Lapala.
Immediate goal to attain happiness can be done when both subject and object works together, and the other one was
ultimate.
The
long-term.
The long-term goal can be happiness can be attained through internal. What do you call it?
Okay, what we learned is about the sound of a clap, and for that two things are important: external and internal. Very good. What is your name?
Jigmel.
Jigmela paraphrased it so well. Now others will also help me. That for immediate and the long-term goal, we need to know the two things. Okay, role of the external conditions and role of the internal conditions. And we learned that it is very impractical to say that everything is just your mind. Okay, everything is just your mind. For example, you did not gain marks in your final exams. It is because of my mind. You have to study hard. And then you did not get the cab after this class. Oh, it is because of my mind. So this is very impractical. You have to take care of the external conditions and you have to take care of the internal conditions also. Then we also learned that external conditions are how many? Infinite. And internal is? Okay, internal two. What are those two? Okay, for immediate we learned that for the time being, for the immediate one, we can just boil it down to the ego. We can work on our ego. In simple words we call it ego. Okay, and then technicalities will follow. Okay, technicalities will follow, which are these two things which you have to work with, and then you are done. You don't have to worry about so many external things. You don't have to worry about this infinite number of external conditions. Okay, if you can take care of the two things which are internal factors. Okay, this will follow later. But what I'm telling you here is that we learned that this subject-object interaction plays very important role, not only for the immediate goal, but for the long-term goal also. Long-term goal is to achieve the maximum happiness, correct? Now when you want to achieve the maximum of happiness, what we learned is the maximum happiness or the most refined happiness. That will come out through the most refined interaction. Agree? Yes. Now the most refined interaction depends on which two things? Okay, if the interaction depends on the subject and the object, then the most refined interaction depends on the most refined subject interacting with the most refined object. From there you have to know that how to make the subject so refined and how to make the object so refined, or in other words, how to make the subject so subtle and how to make the object so subtle. And then from there we learn to study how to make the subject subtle. What is that study known as? Study of the psychology. And what are the disciplines that deal with that? Cognitive science, neuroscience, Western psychology, and then Hindu psychology, Indian psychology, many other psychologies. All they deal with the study of the mind, subject. And then when you want to study how to make this object so refined that the interaction we have is a very beautiful interaction. So what you have to do is, you have to study the ontology, the study of the object in general, overall, is known as study of the ontology, to know what is the objective reality out there, what is the reality of the object. Okay, if you want to know that, you have that study is known as study of the ontology. And what are the disciplines that deal with that? Philosophy, physics, chemistry. Okay, so all these disciplines, they study what is the reality of the object. Okay, so you have to study both. Okay, and what we are doing now? Psychology. We are trying to study this subject so well. Okay, this is very important. Okay, so this is the chain of reasoning you should employ when you study psychology. And finally, what is most important is whichever psychology you study, whether you study Freudian psychology, you study any other Western psychology, or you study Hindu psychology, Jain psychology, or other psychology, if studying that psychology and reflecting on it, and then, you know, implementing these points in your life, if you become happier, that is the purpose. It doesn't matter which psychology you study. The point is you should become happier and happier over the course of time. This is the whole purpose of studying psychology. It doesn't matter which psychology you study. Finally, you should decide which psychology helps you and which one is the subtle. These are all psychology, but there is a huge difference when it comes to the subtlety. Okay, so that can be decided only when you study them. Okay, so point is, finally, you should be able to use it in your life. Okay, you should be able to use it in your life. And how to use it means it should be able to benefit you. Okay, it should be able to benefit you. Okay, now with this, we'll go to psychology now. Let's go to the textbook. Page number 39. So page number 39, those who were present in the last class, we discussed this part, why study mind, and even now I just quickly recapitulated that part, that why to study mind, why we are, you know, sitting here for 2 hours and then joining group discussions also, and will come for the next classes also, why we should put these efforts. Okay, what is the purpose? Finally is to become happy, because our happiness or suffering, that depends on this agent known as mind. So we need to know this mind so well. Okay, so why to know this mind so well? Because when you know this mind so well, you can shape it so well. Okay, you can manipulate it so well. The mind which is so unkind at times, the mind which is so angry at times, uses such harsh words at times which you don't like, you can change it. You can change it all. Okay, you can change it all only when you know this agent mind, how it works. Okay, how it works. If you know, you can manipulate it. This is the goal. This is the purpose. Okay, so now I'll jump directly to the definition or the nature of mind. Can you read that? The second point. Okay, that we have done because we have to rush a little. So can you, okay, let's go to page number 40. And can you see the second point? Can you see the definition of the mind? Yes, so today we will do is definition of the mind and the nature of the mind. Okay, so definition of the, okay, don't worry about the book. If you see the psychology, okay, just, okay, page number 39 to, good work, Flowering Dharma. Okay, it's from 39 to 61, and this is also not complete. If you want to do everything in detail, I would advise you to join Nalanda diploma course. Okay, this is going to start very soon on 12th of January. Registrations are still open. Buddhist psychology is a major part of the course. Okay, you will enjoy it thoroughly. But for now, I'm going to give you a just an overview. Okay, so that you get to know what Buddhist psychology is all about. Okay, so now don't worry about these pages and definitions. I'll try to make it as simple as possible for you guys so that you have some idea of psychology. Okay, good. So first is the definition. Leave it. Okay, so how, okay, have you ever attended the conferences where neuroscientists, cognitive scientists, and then philosophers talking about the mind? How many of you ever attended these conferences? Okay, good. If you have, okay, those who have attended, they will know what I'm saying. So when they talk about the mind, they talk about mind a lot, okay? But when somebody asks them very precisely, how do you define the mind? And what is this mind like? They do not have a very clear answer. They generally don't have a very clear answer. And sometimes they go to the extent of saying that nobody can define mind. I heard even they saying that nobody can define mind. So they can go to that extent. So don't believe it so easily. Here is the definition given. And this definition comes from Acharya Dharmakirti's text and then many other texts also. For example, Acharya Dharmakirti's text and then Acharya Vasubandhu's text, Abhidharma Ghosh, and then Acharya Arya Asanga's text. These are the 17 Nalanda masters. So Arya Asanga's text, Abhidharma Samuchaya. So definition is very clearly given here. So don't believe these words very easily. So what is the definition of mind? So definition of the mind is, okay, I'll tell you. Okay, the first line is there. Definition of mind or consciousness is that which is clear and knowing. This mind is defined as an agent which is clear and knowing. An agent which has the aspect of clarity and the knowing. Okay, this is the definition of the mind. And the other word used here is consciousness. So be careful with this word, consciousness. This is English word and used with different connotations. So you have to be a good listener. Sometimes this consciousness is used for Atma, sometimes some people used it for soul. Okay, so you have to know the context so well. In this context, in psychology, here mind and consciousness mean the same. Okay, they are synonymous. Okay, but they are not referring to Atma, they are not referring to soul. Okay, so in this context, mind and consciousness are same. But everywhere, okay, when I said okay, mind and consciousness are same, and then you go to the conferences where people are talking about consciousness as Atma and you say, oh, so consciousness has these attributes. Don't do that. Okay, just listen to the person so well and then see the context. Okay, in this context I'm saying mind and consciousness is the same. Otherwise you have to see the context. Okay, so now how the mind is defined as a clear and knowing agent. Okay, so what are the two aspects you can see in the definition? Clear and knowing. So these two things we need to know very clearly. Okay, what do you mean by clarity? What do you mean by knowing aspect of the mind? Only if you know these things, you know the definition of the mind so well and you know the mind so well. Okay, so to explain this, okay, I'll explain this. First, what is the thing? Clear. Okay, the clarity aspect of the mind. Okay, how many of you have seen mirror? What about other people who did not raise their hand? Because then why I'm asking this, otherwise I have to explain what mirror is. Please make my job easier. Everybody has seen the mirror? Okay, good. So those who have seen the mirror, okay, have you seen the reflection of the tree in the mirror? Yes. Okay, tell me. To explain the clarity aspect of the mind, oftentimes the analogy given is of the mirror. Okay, oftentimes the analogy given is of the mirror. Okay, why mirror? Okay, I'll tell you now. Mirror. Okay, tell me, when the mirror is so dusty, okay, if there is a lot of dust on the mirror, do you think that the reflection of the tree can be formed on the mirror? Okay, extremely dirty. You can't. And dusty, let's say, but the blurry. Okay, the reflection cannot be formed. Okay, is it clear? This is true. For this you don't need any psychology. For this you don't need any philosophy. This is your own experience. Then when the surface of the mirror is not clear, the reflections cannot be formed. Correct? Okay, now let's do a quick activity. Close your eyes. Sit straight. Okay, now just think about your mother. Now open your eyes. How many of you could think about your mother? Very good. Good. So everybody was there. Okay, now tell me. Somebody will tell me. Everybody said that we could think about our mother. Okay, so Nishita, did your mother came to your mind? Okay, good. Lamala, okay, yes. New, huh? Okay, here. Did your mother come to your mind? She did. Okay. Okay. Your mother came to your mind. Are you sure? Yes. So be very precise. Your mother cannot come to your mind. Do you agree with me or not? How many of you said that, yes, my mother came to my mind? Your mother is not even in this room. Forget about coming to your mind, correct? Okay, so be very precise. Now you are studying psychology, philosophy, logic. So be very precise. What he said is the appearance. Okay, appearance of the mother came to my mind, or is the image of the mother came to my mind, correct? Agree with me or not? Mother does not come to your mind. The image of the mother comes to your mind. So when you think, what comes to your mind is the image of the object. This is one thing you need to learn. Okay, now tell me, when the image was formed on your mind, was it clear or blurry? Clear. It was clear. Okay, so from this you have to see just what the mirror does for the reflection of the tree. Same is done by the mind for the reflection or the images to be formed on the mind. Okay, so you need to know what is mirror for the reflection of the tree. Mind is for the images of the object. If this mind is not clear, like a dusty mirror, the reflections or the images cannot be formed on this mind. Agree with me or not? If your mind is not clear, if it is full of stains, then the images cannot be formed on it. Agree with me or not? Yes. So likewise, you have to know that just as the mirror, unless the mirror is clear, the reflections cannot be formed on it. Likewise, if the nature of the mind is not clear, the images, the mental images cannot be formed on this mind, on the surface of the mind. This you need to know. Okay, so this is the clarity aspect of the mind. Just that the mirror is so clear and the reflections can be formed on it. Likewise, nature of the mind is so clear. Only because of that, images can be formed on this mind. And it's not only the mother's image can be formed. You think about anything and this will reflect on the surface of your mind. Agree with me or not? Yes, it happens because the surface of the mind is so clear. This you need to know from the clarity aspect. Okay, now this clear aspect has two connotations. Okay, this is English word. In Tibetan, how many of you know Tibetan? Okay, don't worry. So in Tibetan, it is, the definition is Selsing Rikpa. This cell word has two connotations. One is clarity and other is luminosity. Okay, clarity and luminosity. Okay, don't be confused. What I said is the clear. Okay, there are two aspects in the definition. Agree? Okay, everybody is on the same page. There are two things in the definition which we need to know: clear and the knowing. Now this clarity, I'm saying it has two connotations. What are the two connotations, guys? Okay, clarity and luminosity. Say it again. Clarity and the luminosity. What I explained to you right now is the clarity aspect. Okay, clarity aspect. Just as the mirror is so clear and then only reflections can be formed on it, likewise, if the surface of the mind is clear, the images can be formed on it. Everybody understands that? Okay, now the next connotation of the clarity is luminosity. Okay, how many of you can see this, let's say this flower? How many of you can see this? Very good. Okay, if there is no light in this room, can you see that? Okay, why? Why? Because we need a light to illuminate the object. We need the light to illuminate the object. If the light is not there, even if I move it from here to here, you cannot see anything. Correct? Agree? Okay, now, likewise, okay, just think about your mother once again. Think. How many of you think with open eyes? Good. Otherwise, I thought you are not listening to me. Okay, just now tell me, the image of the mother that came to your mind, was it dark, black, or you can see it as image of the mother? Guys, this you need to explore. If you don't give answer, okay, if you don't want to say loudly, fine. But give you answers to yourself. Okay, this is very important. Only when you engage in these activities you will understand the definition so well. Okay, only when you understand the definition so well, and then you go to these conferences, you can understand that why these people are saying that it is not easy to define mind. That I agree with them, that it is not easy, but something which is not easy does not mean you cannot define it. Agree with me or not? Okay, because of these small aspects, because of these very important things, if you don't engage with, you will never get what this mind is like. Okay, so what I'm asking you, okay, when the image of the mother was formed on your mind, okay, when this image came to your mind, was it dark, or you can see it as an image of the mother? Okay, so this is not the external light. For this flower to see, we need the external light to illuminate it. But the images that are formed on our mind, we don't have any external light. Agree with me or not? There is no external light to illuminate that. This is the internal light. So because the nature of the mind is luminous, the images that are formed on the mind are luminous in nature. You can see that image, those images, they are not dark in nature. Agree with me? So this clarity has two connotations. What are the two connotations? Connotation of clarity and connotation of luminosity. Very good. Okay, now what is the other aspect? What is the other part of the definition? Knowing. Okay, good. Everybody is clear about the clarity thing? I'll ask once again after I finish knowing aspect. Okay, knowing part of the definition. Now tell me, mirror, when the reflection of the tree is formed on the mirror, does the mirror know that the reflection is formed on it? Okay, tell me honestly, do you think that the mirror knows that the reflection of the tree is formed on it? No. Why it's so low? Not clear? Not sure? Of course not. Okay, mirror doesn't know that the reflection is formed on it. Agree with me or not? And now when you thought about, okay, when you thought about your mother and the image of the mother was formed on your mind, okay, how many of you agree? Okay, how many of you say that I know that the image of the mother came to my mind? How many of you know that? How many of you don't know that the image of the mother came to my mind? Good. It means everybody knows. Everybody agree with me that I not only the mirror image of the mother is formed on me, I know that the image of the mother was formed. Correct? Agree with me? But so this you need to know. What is the difference between a mirror and the mind? Just like the mirror, when image is formed, okay, when the reflection is formed on the mirror surface should be clear. Agree? Likewise, the surface of the mind should be very clear for the images to be formed. Agree? Very good. But unlike mirror, which doesn't know that the image is formed on it, mind knows that the images are formed on it. Agree with me or not? So this is known as the knowing aspect of the mind. Not only the images are formed on it because of the clarity aspect, it knows, this agent mind knows which images formed on it. Agree with me or not? So this is known as knowing aspect of the mind. From this now you know the definition of the mind. What is the definition? Something which is an agent which is clear and knowing. An agent which is clear and knowing. Okay, and now just a quick recap. Okay, good. What are the two parts of the definition? Clarity and knowing. Now the clarity again has two connotations. What are the two connotations? Clarity and luminosity. Now tell me, for clarity, how do we understand the clarity part of the mind? Clarity aspect of the mind, how do we understand? With what analogy? Like a mirror. Just as the reflections are formed on the mirror because the surface of the mirror is clear, likewise the images are formed on the mind because the surface of the mind is so clear. Okay, now to understand the luminosity aspect, what should we understand? How do we know this flower? Okay, how do we see this flower? Only when there is a light in this room, because we need a light to illuminate this flower. Agree with me or not? If there is no light in this room, you will not see this flower. Agree with me? So it means we need a light to illuminate this object. Agree? Likewise, when you think about your mother, the image of the mother is formed on your mind that image is not dark in nature. That is very luminous in nature, and there is no external light. Agree with me or not? When you closed your eyes, there was no external light in your mind which was illuminating the object. Agree with me? Yes. So what is that? That is the luminous nature of the mind, okay, which illuminates the images, which illuminates the object which are reflected on its surface. Agree with me? This is very important. This is about the clarity aspect. Clear to everyone? Good. Now what is the other aspect? Knowing aspect. How do we understand the knowing aspect of the mind? Anybody? Very good. Unlike mirror, mind knows which images formed on its surface, okay? Which image or what image is formed on the mind knows that. Does mirror knows? Does mirror know that the reflection of the tree is formed on it? No. But does the mind know that the image of the mother is formed on it? Yes. So this is the knowing aspect of the mind. So from this you need to know that this non-tangible object, this non-physical object which has no color, which has no shape, mind has no color, mind has no shape, and it is non-tangible in nature. It is not like a physical object, okay, which your body consciousness can touch, okay. It has no color which your eye consciousness can see. It has no shape, okay. But this agent mind has the clarity aspect and the aspect of the knowing. This mind is clear and knowing in nature. This you need to know. So that's why mind is defined as an agent which is clear and knowing. Agree? Clear to everyone? Okay, good. Very good. Okay, let's...
Why is it called gray matter? Why is it called gray matter?
Okay, good question. We'll go to the questions later. Let's have a flow first, and gray matter, white matter, about the brain we'll discuss later. Mind and brain. Okay, just for your information, I did mention in the last class also that there are discussions happening. There are very important discussions about the brain and mind. Are they one or different? First questions. If they are different, or if they are one, how they are different, how they are one. Okay, these questions are there. And then there are more questions to it. Whether mind exists or not, or it's just a brain. Okay, and if mind exists, how does it exist? Exist as an emergent property of the brain or as different from the brain? Okay, these are the questions that need to be dealt separately. Okay, not now. What we are assuming right now, that mind exists, and then we are trying to understand this agent known as mind. Okay, good.
You talked about clarity of mind, but I couldn't understand if the image formed on the mind, as you said, if it's not clear or
If the clarity of the mind, you talked about the clarity. So if the image formed on the mind, if it's blurred or there's no clarity in it, if the image has no clarity, so do you say that the clarity of the mind, it's being obstructed by something, or like, how do you define that?
Okay, very good question. Okay, could you understand the question? That I said that the mind is clear in nature. Okay, correct me if I got you wrong. Mind is clear in nature. Agree? That what we learned. Okay, now sometimes the images formed are not so clear. Okay, so then what about the clarity aspect? Is it obstructed or it is not there? This is the question. Okay, very good question. Not only this question, you need to think about the darkness. Can you think about the darkness? Can you think about the darkness or not? Yes. Okay, dark. Okay, you can think about. So there is light or not? So what about the luminosity aspect of the mind? These are very important questions. Okay, second question I asked, so I won't answer. Okay, you have to discuss in the group discussion, and then if not resolved, ask me again. Okay, first question is very important question. So before I go to the classification, let me answer it. That okay, anybody who thinks that can answer that what she said is very true, and at the same time definition means, okay, this you need to know, this we will study as a part of the logic. Definition means anything. Okay, definition and definiendum, do you know? Okay, so mind, in this case, mind is the definiendum. Okay, and what is the definition? That mind is clear and knowing. Okay, so definition and definiendum. Okay, definiendum is what you define. Okay, and definition is the definition per se. Okay, so now mind is the definiendum, and what is the definition? An agent which is clear and knowing. This is definition. So logic, during the study of the logic, we will study that in simple words. Okay, there are many more things to learn, but in very, very simple words, you will learn that anything that qualifies the definiendum should qualify the definition. Okay, and whatever qualifies the definition should qualify the mind. So in simple word, whatever is the mind should be clear and knowing, and whatever is clear and knowing should be mind. Okay, so this is a pervasion you need to know. Okay, don't worry about these things. What I wanted to say is there is no contradiction. Okay, there is no contradiction. When you think about something blurry. Okay, forget about it coming blurry. You think about something blurry. Okay, you just think about, okay, you saw a very blurry, let's say, mobile picture, and then you think about it. Can you do that? That the picture was so blurred, and then I ask you to think about it. Can you think about it? So that picture was blurred or not? But that blurriness came to your mind clearly or not? Why? Because the nature of the mind is clear. This you need to know. It's not, the blurry thing can be formed on the mind, but they form as blurred. They are not formed as clear. Contradiction will be when they are formed as clear or when they are formed as dark. Whatever is the object, it is reflected on the mind as it is. So then it is because of the clarity nature of the mind. If there is any stain on the mind, it will alter the image, or it will affect the image. Since it is freed of all the stains in the sense it is very clear in nature, just as the mirror is so clear, then whatever you reflect on it, it will be reflected clearly. It will be reflected clearly. So if you reflect for example, in the mirror, just in the mirror, in front of the mirror, if you put a blurred picture, you see it blurred or you see it clear? You see it blurred. You see it blurred or you see it dark? Blur. Why? Because mirror's job is to reflect whatever is shown to it. Its job is not to manipulate it. And this can this is very important thing, guys. Just engage in this activity. Okay, now I put something on the mirror. Okay, something on the mirror. Just I make it so not completely dusty, but I put something on this. Okay, now when you put the same blurry image or the picture in front of the mirror, that image will be having some changes, or will you see the blurry image as it is, or will you see those things also? Those things also, because it is tainted, because the stains are there. So if the stains are there, it will alter it, it will manipulate the object which is being shown to it. But if it is shows as it is, as blur, as dark, or as clear, then what is the proof? What does it prove? What does it prove? That the nature of the mind is clear in nature. Clear?
But what are the stains you were mentioning?
So it's stains in this context does not mean the stains. Stains,
like regarding the mind.
What are very clear, very good question. When we talk about the mirror, the stains are the external stains. Okay, in terms of the mind, I'm just giving an analogy. It's not about the stains per se. It's just to tell you that the surface is clear. There is nothing to obstruct for the image to reflect on it. Okay, blur means if you show the blur, if you think about the blurry object will be reflected on your mind as blurry object. Okay, they will not come to your mind as clear object or as dark object. So this is the meaning of clarity aspect. It's not, but we have to use some analogy. So I use the analogy of the mirror, which has the stain and which does not have the stain. Okay, which does not have the stain. So the mirror which does not have the stain is analogous to mind. Okay, because it is same as clear. Okay, there.
I have a follow-up question. When you say that mind should be very clear to form an image of particular object, does it mean when you say clear, does it mean is it free of mental defilements or what?
No, that's what I explained right now. I do not mean that it is freed of defilement. It's simply the clarity aspect of the mind. Okay, just tell me, when you think, okay, right now, can you think about, okay, just do this exercise. Can you think about your mother? Close your eyes and think. Okay, good. Open your eyes. Can you think about the darkness? Think about it, guys. Think. Yes. Okay, now think about a blur picture. All these come to your mind as it is, or your mind is manipulating something? As it is. Okay, so this is the meaning of the clarity. This can happen only when there is nothing to obstruct the clear nature of the mind. Only if the surface of the mind is so clear, the images can reflect on it as it is. Okay, otherwise, just as on the mirror, if there are some stains, the stains are related to the mirror analogy. If there are stains on the mirror, then images cannot be reflected on the mirror, whereas the surface of the mirror is so clear, the images can be reflected on it. Okay, so the clarity aspect is the clear nature of the mind. It has nothing to do with the defilements and obscurations per se. Our mind right now full of afflictive obscurations and cognitive obscuration. It is only Buddha's mind which is freed of the afflictive as well as cognitive obscurations. This you will learn later. Okay, okay, last question here.
Can you give some other examples regarding this concept of knowing? Imagine about your mother. So I'm stimulating myself to think about my mother. So how, like, it is obvious that I know that it is my mother. So can you please give some other example?
Okay, this will come during the classification of the mind. This will come. Okay, what are the different kinds of the mind? What I asked, okay, what the exercise we did, we thought about something. Agree? Okay, so this is one kind of mind, thinking mind, known as conceptual mind. Okay, so there are direct mind also. They also know their object. Okay, just okay. If I say later all the time, you will be frustrated. Why she's not giving time? Why? Because we have to wind up around 7, and I want to really do this, at least a classification of the mind, so that you have some material for group discussions. And next classes also we have question answers. I'm always there. Next classes onwards you can ask. Okay, and then here also it's very important. These questions are very important. How I wish we had, not 1 month but 1 year, so that we could go into details. These, if you ask these questions, they are very precious. Just to answer you, for example, this flower, how many of you can see this flower? Are you thinking about the flower? Are you seeing it directly? Okay, how many of you say that I'm seeing it directly through your own eyes? Okay, so this mind is known as eye consciousness. This is a direct consciousness. This mind knows the flower also. Okay, your mind is knowing in nature. So this is not a thinking mind, but still their eyes consciousness sees the flower. Correct? Okay, so this is the difference. Okay, that there are different kinds of mind. Therefore, this psychology is so beautiful. Okay, so okay, this takes us to a very important part, the classification of the mind. Thank you. Okay, there are different ways of classifying mind. Okay, why I'm doing all this and you are studying all this? Okay, especially after learning this classification, I can finish it in 15 minutes, or if the Flowering Dharma is generous to give me 10 more minutes, then you will be very fascinated and amazed to see the internal movie of your mental states. How many of you go and watch the external or the movie in the movie theaters? How many of you have never gone to movie theater? Wow, very good. Okay, so everybody has the experience of watching a movie. Is it interesting to watch the external movie? Yes. Now, when you know this psychology so well, today what we are doing is just an overview, and then in the coming classes also you will get to know so many nuances. But if you join Nalanda diploma course, Nalanda master's course, for a proper understanding and the details of the psychology, all the nuances, then you will be fascinated to see the internal movie of your mind. I just give you one example. Think about your mother, and then whether you know, not only think about, just think whether you know about your mother or not. Then subject object interaction. After knowing all this, and especially classification, you will be amazed to see the internal movie, and you will be fascinated to know that the internal movie which our mind creates is more interesting than the external movie. That you will realize. Every moment we are creating a movie, but we are not aware of it. Why? Always focused outside, always focus outside. So when you learn psychology, you will be more focused inwardly, and not only you will see this movie so well, the more clearly you see the movie, the more clearly you can manipulate it later on. Okay, so that is the skill you need to get through the psychology, philosophy, and study of the logic. Okay, good. Now the classifications. Okay, so there are so many different ways of classifying the mind. If you just browse through this the psychology part of this book, you will see there are different ways of, so don't worry about that right now. I'll do one classification with you, and that will be okay. That is also very interesting. That's the major way of classifying the mind. Okay, so what are the different ways? For example, we classify the mind as primary mind and secondary minds. Okay, this is one kind of classification. Then subtle mind, gross mind, then conceptual mind and non-conceptual mind, then mental consciousness and sensory consciousness, then eliminative engager, collective engager. Don't worry about this, don't take notes. It's just for your information that there are so many ways of classifying the mind. Okay, so what we are going to do today quickly is the sevenfold division of mind. This you need to note down. What is that? What is that? Sevenfold division of mind. Sevenfold division of mind. Okay, in your book, page number 42. Page number 42. Okay, how many of you can read sevenfold division of mind? Can you see that? On page number 42. So there are 7 division of mind. Okay, what are those? Just let's read them together, and by next class or next to next class, let's say, you should have these 7 on your fingertips. Even if you forget their explanation, just try to have them on your fingertips. Then later on, you know, the more you have these elements on your fingertip, you will enjoy your classes, and you will really feel yourself to be the part of this panorama course. Okay, so what are those? Okay, let me quickly say that. Direct valid cognition. 1, direct valid cognition. 2nd, inferential cognizer. 3rd, subsequent cognizer. 4th, correctly assuming consciousness. 5th, non-discerning direct perception. Then 6th, doubting consciousness. 7th, deceptive wrong consciousness. Okay, who can say this without looking into the book? No one? Okay, don't worry, I just asked it. Okay, so what are these? These are the sevenfold division of mind. And then you can see that from, okay, this, there is an order. Okay, there is an order, and just for your information, this from the bottom to top, the mind is becoming more and more refined. In this classification, the mind is becoming more and more refined when you go from bottom to top. So what is at the bottom? What is the last? Deceptive consciousness. Then next is doubting consciousness. So you need to know doubting consciousness is better than the deceptive consciousness. Then non-discerning direct perception is refined, more refined than the doubting consciousness. Then correctly assuming is more refined than the non-discerning direct consciousness. Okay, and then what is at the top? What is that? Direct valid cognition. Direct valid cognition. Okay, so now, okay, let's start with the valid cognizer. Okay, tell me, valid cognition. Okay, valid cognition. Okay, so valid, okay, it has 2 things, valid and cognition. It has 2 things. The first thing, okay, first mind says direct valid cognition. Okay, now just don't worry about the book. There are okay, this book has the definition of all the 7 and the division, further division of these 7. Okay, don't worry about that. It will be technical for you at the moment, but if you study that and if you get the examples through the simple examples, that will become very easy for you. For now, I'll just give you an overview of what these 7 are. Okay, and then how can you actually explore that within your own psyche. These are not something outside. Okay, finally you should be able to explore them. You should be able to perceive them in your own psyche, in your own mind. You should be able to see, okay, now my mind is number 4. What is number 4? Correctly assuming consciousness. Or yesterday my mind was 6th. Number 6 is doubting consciousness. If this you can do, wonderful. You will find it so interesting to study psychology. Okay, this is the purpose. But for that you have to study a little. Okay, so now first is direct valid perceiver. Before I go to the direct valid perceiver, what is valid cognition and why it is so important? Now valid cognition, can you see that it has 2 things, valid and cognition. Okay, so the mind which knows its object validly is known as valid cognition. What is that mind? Mind which knows or cognizes its object validly is known as valid cognition. Okay, this is the meaning you need to know first. Okay, and this is at the top. Why it is at the top? This you will be able to know after we finish this session. Okay, now valid cognition. How important is valid cognition? I said valid cognition is what? A mind which knows its object validly, correctly. Okay, now tell me, valid cognition is important or not? How important it is? Give me any example. Okay, I'll give you one example and tell me if it is important or not. So from the smallest thing to the most important long-term goal. What is the long-term goal to achieve? Maximum of happiness. For everything, smallest thing like enjoying your food, going for job, your career, and then to the most important thing, which is to acquire maximum of happiness, technically known as enlightenment. Very good. Technically known as enlightenment, you need to resort to what is known as valid cognition. If your cognition is not valid, if your mind is not valid, if it is not cognizing or knowing the object valid, then what results you will get will not be fruitful. Okay, the results will not be very beneficial. Okay, now valid cognition, for example, you want to, okay, the example which I like is, for example, you are stranger in Delhi. Okay, how many of you are from outside Delhi? Okay, good. Then you have this. Do you know this feeling when you are strange in Delhi? For the first time you are in Delhi for your jobs or for your first time colleges. Okay, so now when you are stranger in Delhi and then you are hungry. Okay, and you want to eat healthy food. Okay, you want to eat healthy food and you see 2 restaurants together. One restaurant is overly crowded. Okay, one restaurant is overly crowded and other restaurant is, no, it's very spacious, very clean, nobody is there. Okay, nobody is there, it's very clean. Okay, very spacious, and from the outside the menu looks amazing. Okay, now tell me, which restaurant? The first one is overly crowded. So many people are eating there. Okay, so many people, there is no even space to sit. Now tell me, you are strange, you don't know anybody, you don't have clue about these 2 restaurants, but you are very hungry and you want to make sure that you eat healthy food. Okay, now tell me, which restaurant you will go? How many of you say crowded one? And how many of you say the other one, very clean, spacious, so that I'll have my private time and nobody is there to disturb me, so clean. Okay, tell me, those who said that I'll go to the crowded one, who are those people? Now where are those people? Have already gone? Okay, good. Okay, anybody tell me, why will you go to the crowded one? Nishida?
The crowd is a validation of the fact that it is healthy yet people have been eating there.
Okay, say it through the mic. Everybody should listen to you.
The presence of the crowd is almost a validation of the fact that a restaurant is a clean, hygienic one where people have been eating for a long time.
Okay, now how many of you agree with it and say, now I also want to go to crowded one? Very good. So the crowd is a validation for what? That the food is good. The food is good. Second one could be very clean, could be very spacious, you can have best of your time, but he or she can provide you stale food. Agree with me or not? And the very fact people are not going there must be some reason. When you don't know the city, when you don't know the restaurants, when you don't know the people there, you have to rely on what you get the information from the seeing. Okay, and then you see that one place you have to rely on the local people's decision, and local peoples are crowded where? In the first or the second? In the first. So if you lack this valid cognition, what you will have next day? Problem. Okay, next day you will have problem. Okay, only if you have the valid cognition, then you will get a healthy food. Okay, so this is a very small example of valid cognition. Then finally, depending on how rich you are in your valid cognition, and how richly you employ them, okay, then you will have a qualitatively happy life. Agree with me or not? The more you have, the more you resort to the valid cognition, the more qualitatively happy life you will lead. Agree with me or not? Okay, so this is how valid cognition is very important. So not only the small thing like acquiring food, but the maximum happiness is also dependent on the valid cognition. Valid cognition says that you should remove the two mental obscuration. What are the two? Afflictive and cognitive obscuration. And what you do is the opposite. You just shout at others, use harsh speech, and then you think that everybody will like me. Is it a valid cognition or full of contradiction? So valid cognition plays extremely important role. Okay, clear? Okay, now there are two kinds of valid cognition. So from this we come to this sevenfold division. There are two kinds of valid cognition, first and second. Can you read the first? Direct valid perceiver and inferential cognizer. Can you see that? Okay, so there are two kinds of valid cognizers, direct valid perceivers and inferential cognizer. Everybody got that? Okay, good. Now what is direct valid perceiver? So there are so many things to discuss, but I'm not going into the detail. Okay, just here. Now look at me. How many of you can see this flower? Okay, good. So you see this flower directly, or you need a reason for that? Okay, this is a wrong question. Okay, can you see a flower? How many of you can? How many of you say that yes, I see a flower? Very good. After you see a flower, I say, how do you know that it is a flower? If I ask this question, what will be your reaction? You will be angry actually. Okay, what is her problem? I can see this. You will simply say, I can see this. I don't have to give any other reason. Agree with me or not? So this you see directly. Agree with me or not? You don't have to give me any reason. Agree? So this is known as direct valid perceiver. You perceive the flower directly. Okay, you perceive the flower directly without relying on any other reasoning. You don't have to give me any reasoning. Just you see it directly. This is known as direct valid perceiver. And then there are different kinds of direct valid perceiver. For example, you see this through your eyes or through your ears? Eyes. How many of you are seeing it through your ears? Your eyes. So this is a eye sense consciousness. Okay, then if I ask you, can you hear my voice? How many of you are hearing it through your ears? Good. So that is ear sense consciousness. Are you hearing it directly, or you have to use some reasoning? Directly. So that is also a direct perceiver. So there are 5. If you can just see on the 43, there are 5 types of sensory direct perceivers. 5 types of sensory direct perceiver. Okay, don't worry about that. Just here, I'll quickly tell you. Eyes, eye consciousness. Visual object you see through your visual sense consciousness. Okay, sound you hear through your ear sense consciousness. Then you perceive taste through your tongue taste consciousness, or okay, in technical terms it is said gustatory sense consciousness. And then you touch this flower or any other object through your body sense consciousness or tactile sense consciousness. Are you touching it directly or you need a reason? Directly. Okay, this is a direct perception. And then what is next? Olfactory. The smells you perceive through your nose. Okay, nose sense consciousness or olfactory. So these are the 5 sensory, and there is mental direct perceivers also. Mental consciousness has 2, direct and inferential both. Okay, so later. Now tell me, this is about the first one, direct valid perceiver. Now next is what? What is the next valid cognizer? Inferential cognizer. Very good. Now tell me, how many of you know outside there is traffic? How many of you are sure that there are? Okay.
It's the same example that you gave of the restaurant. That was inferential.
Wonderful. So should we stop here? You got already. Okay, no. Okay, other example. Okay, wonderful. That is true. Through inference, okay, through reasons. You don't see it directly, but okay. Now, even more simpler example is, how many of you know that there must be a car outside or a bike outside or traffic outside? How many of you? This is Delhi. You cannot be doubtful about it. Okay, now, okay, hear this sound. Are you sure there is traffic outside? How are you sure? You did not even see that. Okay, anybody there at the back? Because we can hear the noise. How many of you can hear the noise? And through this noise, did you see the traffic yourself? No, but are you sure that there is traffic outside? Wonderful. And how do you know? You did not see the traffic outside, but you are sure. Okay, this is a valid cognition. Nobody can deny this cognition that there is traffic. But did you see it directly? No. Did you use a reason? Yes. What is the reason? That I can hear the noise of the traffic. I can hear the noise of the traffic. So the valid cognition which you acquire through resorting to the reasonings, through depending on the reasonings, are known as inferential cognition. You have to rely on the inferences. Okay, you have to rely on the reasoning. This is known as inferential cognizer. Okay, they are also valid, but they are not direct. Okay, tell me, which one is powerful, direct or inferential? Both are valid. Which one is powerful? Direct. After direct, if I ask you again this question, you will say, something is wrong with this girl. Okay, I should not answer now. This is a flower, I can see that. You will say like this, correct? Why? Because direct consciousness is very powerful consciousness. Okay, you don't need any reason. Direct valid cognition. Good. Now next is what? Okay, this is about the valid cognizer. What are the 2 kinds? Direct and inferential. Now next is subsequent cognizer. Okay, what is subsequent cognizer? Okay, quickly, then again subsequent cognizers, so many details are there, but for this class I'm making it so easy, so pay attention. I need your attention now. Okay, how many of you can see this flower? And what sees this flower in you? Your ear consciousness or eye consciousness? Very good. Okay, how do you know that there is a flower? My eye consciousness can see that. If you say this in the next classes, Geshe-la will be very happy. That, oh, they really learned psychology. So make him happy. What will you say? Don't say my eyes can see that. Now show that you have learned psychology for 2 days. What will you say? My eye consciousness can see that. How rich your vocabulary is depends on your knowledge. Agree with me or not? So richer your vocabulary will show that how rich you are in knowledge. Okay, so say my eye consciousness can see that. Agree? Okay, good. Now tell me, if I ask you to see this flower for 5 moments, can you see that? Okay, how many of you can see this for 5 moments? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop. Okay, so now, okay, these are the technical things. Just don't worry, subsequent cognizer we are doing. So the first moment of the flower, okay, just see in your books. Don't see at a flower. Okay, now look at the flower. Look at the flower for 5 moments. Done? Somebody's 5 moments are so quick. Okay, not to mention. Now, okay, when I asked you to see the flower for the first time, when you were not looking at the flower, So first moment is known as valid cognition. Okay, just don't worry about the earlier valid cognition. First moment is known as valid cognition, and the rest of the moment, second moment onwards, these are known as subsequent cognizer. What are these? Subsequent cognizer. Okay, good. This you need to know. First moment is known as valid cognition, or prime, some call it prime cognizer. First moment is known, and there is a reason why we call first moment. Why? Okay, tell me. Okay, everybody now finish with the writing. Okay, tell me. Second moment, did you see the flower or not? Third moment, did you see the flower or not? Is it valid or not?
Yes.
Is it cognition or not?
Yes.
Then why second moment is not valid cognition? Okay, good. Again, first moment I said is valid cognition. Second moment onwards we call it subsequent cognition. My question to you. Second moment of the flower. Did you see a flower?
Yes.
Yes. Did you see a flower validly? Yes. Is it a valid? Is it a cognition? Then is it a valid cognition? Second moment. Why? Question is why? Okay, so this you need to know. Okay, because we don't have time, although debates, discussions, many things are there, so you are in a way lucky also, because we don't have time, you answers are given. But to be very honest, when you get it through the discussions, then you get it more. Okay, so try to discuss it more. So second moment onwards, all are valid. You see the flower and you see the flower validly. But second moment, this is the technical term given. Second moment, only the first moment is given the label of valid cognition. Second moment onwards, they are valid, but we don't call that valid cognition. We call that subsequent cognizer. If you ask me why, are you going to ask me why?
Yes.
Okay, then I have to defend it. Okay, how many of you know Mr. Narendra Modi ji? How many of you know? Don't say no, guys. Okay, good. Okay, how many of you know? Okay, we all know. Okay, he is the Prime Minister. He is the Chief Minister. Why? Is he Chief of the India? Is he the Minister of the India? So he should be Chief Minister. Why not? He is Chief of the India. He is Minister of the India. But why is not Chief Minister of the India? Okay, anybody? Quick, quick, quick. Because that's a label given to a person who is chief of the state, not of the country. To chief of the country we call Prime Minister. It's just the label given. Okay, so although the second moments onwards they are also valid, but they are given the label of subsequent cognizer, and only the first one is given the label of the valid cognition. And there is also a reason, and don't drag me to all these reasons, otherwise we have to sit for 2 hours. Okay, but there is a reason. Okay, the valid cognition, why first one is called valid cognition, there is a very important reason. Okay, and there are, and I can explain it to you, but only if time allows. Okay, let me go to next one. Good. Subsequent cognizer is clear to all of you? Okay, and then there are different kinds of subsequent cognizer. For details, sign up to diploma. Okay, good. Now next is correctly assuming consciousness. What is the next? Correctly assuming consciousness, or the correct assumption, or the correct assumption. Now tell me, okay, how many of you heard about the Tathagata Garbha? How many of you heard about the essence of purity? And how many of you are convinced about it? No one. And how many of you think, yes, it could be true? Okay, so this is what I want to tell you, that we heard about something, Tathagata Garbha, essence of purity lying within each one of us. Okay, and then you think, yes, it seems to be true. With the reasoning, you know that, okay, these are all true, this is the fact, but you are not convinced. Okay, you know that this is a you know that there is Tathagata Garbha and there is this which is with every one of us, but by now you are not convinced about it. Agree with me or not? If you are not agree, but is it a fact or not? This is a fact. Okay, whether you agree with, whether you agree with it or not, this is a fact. So if you think that yes, there is Tathagata Garbha, but you are not fully 100% agree, then you are on the level of correct assumption. You are assuming something, but that assumption is correct assumption. Can you have the wrong assumptions also? Can you have the assumption that India Gate is right in the next hall? Yes, we can assume anything. Okay, we are capable of assuming anything. Agree? Okay, we can assume that I am the next Miss India. Okay, so that is a correct assumption or wrong assumption? That is not tilting towards the fact. Okay, correct assumption is what you are assuming is a fact. Okay, but still you are not 100% convinced. For that you have to resort to more reasoning, more study, more engagements. Likewise for the Tathagata Garbha, for the agent mind, you have to study more, you have to reflect more, you have to experience more, and then you will gain the conviction and you will upgrade from correctly assuming to inferential and then to directly. Okay, so this is the journey. Now next is what? Non-discerning direct perception. This is very interesting. This is something very interesting. I like it so much. Okay, now if you don't pay, I need your attention for this. If you don't pay attention to this, the best part of it is that you will experience it right now. You don't have to wait for the last session of the panorama. You will experience it right now. Okay, this is my promise. Okay, I need your attention. Okay, how many of you, okay, what is non-discerning direct perception? This is something you can easily identify in you, and especially I'll tell you where, especially in the classrooms. In the classrooms you can easily identify that now I am going through what I have is the mind of non-discerning direct perception. Okay, I'll give you one example. How many of you, okay, I always go to you. Okay, have you, okay, is it possible? Have you seen people who are listening to music, their favorite music, and totally engrossed in music? Have you seen people? And then their friends wave at them and they're totally engrossed. And unless the friend goes to the person and says, "Hey, are you avoiding me?" Then the person, "Oh, you are there." Does it happen? Yes. Okay. Although your eye consciousness was on the friend, but your mental consciousness, your mind was totally engrossed in the music. So your eye consciousness, although it is looking at the person, could not see the person. So that eye consciousness become the non-discerning direct perception. Okay, if you are not familiar with this example, because we are all so studious, we don't listen to music, then I'll give you another example. How many of you have experienced it in your classrooms, looking at the teacher as if whatever teacher is telling you is going directly in you? Do you do this? Okay, we do this, and then the teacher feels so happy, the class was so good, they were so attentive, and what was in your mind? You were in shopping mall. Does it happen? Yes. So in that case, your eye consciousness, although it is looking at the teacher, but it is totally oblivious to what is happening there. It is not seeing the teacher. The mind is totally engrossed in something else. So that eye consciousness becomes non-discerning. Non-discerning means you do not discern anything. Okay, but still it is a direct perception. Your eyes are wide open, object is also there, but because your mind, your mental consciousness, you will learn later. Okay, mental consciousness, sensory consciousness, your mental consciousness or mind is engrossed in something else which you find very important, then what your eye consciousness become? Non-discerning. Clear to you? Okay, so this you need to see in your classrooms. Very easy to see. Okay, even right now many of you could be doing the same. Okay, good. Now next is what? Doubting consciousness. Next is doubting consciousness. Doubting consciousness is defined as a mind which has formed in two directions. It can be true, it cannot be true. Okay, for example, how many of you know that the atom exists? How many of you know that atom exists? Electrons exist, protons exist, neutrons exist. How many of you know? And how many of you have seen electrons? And then how do you know? You believe in what scientists have told us. Okay, you believe in that. Okay, so now can there be a person who says, "Oh no, I don't think electrons exist"? Can there be people? Who says, oh, I don't believe what scientists are saying. I'm not sure. I don't think that they're there. It may not be true. It may not be true. Okay. If you say it may not be true, what it shows that it is doubt. Okay. It is not wrong also. There is an element of true also, and there is an element of not being true also. Agree with me or not? So this is not, you are totally not denying it and you are not agreeing with it. There is a doubt. Agree with me or not? So this is known as doubting consciousness. Even about the Tathagata Garbha, you can have the doubting consciousness. It may not be true. But in a way you are saying that you are not totally denying it, but at the same time you are saying I'm open-minded. Okay, so now this doubting consciousness, which has a doubt pertaining to its object, is of three kinds. Very easy. Don't go to the vocabulary, otherwise you will just run away right now. Just here, look at me. This doubting consciousness can be of three kinds. Doubting consciousness, or the doubt which is tilted towards the fact. One. Doubt that is tilted towards the falsity. Then the third is doubting consciousness that is tilted towards both equally. Okay, now in this regard, I'll tell you. For example, when you say Tathagata Garbha, okay, let's say Tathagata Garbha, we all learned, and then somebody says, oh, that seems to be very true. It may be true. Okay, this kind of language. It seems to be very true, very logical, very interesting. I should explore more. May be true. So 100% conviction is there? No. Doubt there? Yes. But doubt is tilted towards the fact. Okay, so this is the first kind. Then somebody says, no, it seems to be fake. You know, of course, for sure it is fake. Let me, even if I study, even if I don't study, it is fake. Okay, so the doubt is, it is tilted towards the falsity. Okay, now somebody says, oh, this is very interesting. I'm very open-minded. Let me explore more. It can be true. It can be false. Can there be a mind state of that kind? So that is a doubt tilting towards both equally. Agree with me or not? Yeah. So what is the doubting consciousness? Which has the qualm in two directions. True and not true. Agree? And then this doubt can be of three kinds. Okay, what are the three kinds of doubt? Doubt which is tilting towards the fact. Then doubt which is tilting towards the falsity. Then the doubt which is tilting towards both equally. Okay, very good. Okay, now what is next? Deceptive or wrong consciousness. Deceptive or wrong consciousness. Okay. Okay, good. Here. Last. Be happy. Deceptive and wrong consciousness. Okay. How many of you know it's a flower? And how many of you think it's a real flower? It's a real flower. Okay, good. Then I don't have to manipulate you. Okay, those who think it's a fake flower, and then, you know, I convince you, no, it's real. You, from distance, it appears to be fake, but it is real. It's not a plastic flower. How can you put plastic flower here, yeah, guys? How unkind you are. It's a real flower, I tell you, okay? And then you are convinced it's a real flower. Then, are you seeing, okay, what you are seeing is reality or distortion? Distortion. So, wrong consciousness or deceptive consciousness is a consciousness which sees the reality distortedly. Okay, which sees the reality distortedly, does not see the reality. Okay, this is a deceptive consciousness. Where, how deceptive? While this is a fake flower, you see it as a real flower. While this is a fake flower, you see it as a real flower. So this is a deceptive consciousness or valid consciousness? Deceptive consciousness. For example, you are so hungry and then you start seeing it as chocolate. Does it happen to you? No, thank you. Okay, so let's say you are so extremely hungry that you start seeing it as a chocolate, and then when you come closer to it, okay, how many of you have mistaken rope for a snake? Good. Okay, so these things happen. Okay, you from distance, mistakes do happen. So this is it a snake or is it a rope? Rope. But you see rope as a snake. This is a deceptive consciousness or valid consciousness? Deceptive. So that is a deceptive consciousness. Okay, good. So with this we finish this 7. Now you need to know how these 7 are so important in your life. Can you see this 7? How many of you think that these 7, you know, sometimes 1 or 2 do arise in me? I can relate with it. How many of you can say that? Very good. Now I'm very happy. Okay, if you can say this, it means you got something. Okay, so now, so the journey is to go from deceptive to Direct valid perceiver. Not only in the case of this flower. For example, how you will go from deceptive to direct. Okay, see, I'll just show you a journey, a quick one. Okay, then you have to apply this to Tathagata Garbha slowly with your studies, reflections, and then more inner reflections. Okay, and experience. You have to go from deceptive to direct valid. Okay, now I'll just show this journey with this example. How many of you, okay, for example, this is a fake flower, and then I convinced you from the distance that it is a real flower. Okay, then it is a deceptive consciousness or valid? Deceptive. Very good. It's a wrong consciousness. Now then how will you upgrade from deceptive to doubting consciousness? Then somebody comes to you and says, no, it is a fake flower. How can you see it as a real flower? Then a doubt arises in you. Agree with me or not? That, yeah, this person is saying that it is real. This person is saying it is not real. So doubt will arise in you or not? So now you have upgraded from deceptive to doubting consciousness. Now when you upgrade from doubting to, now, okay, just forget about the non-discerning right now. Correctly assuming. Then slowly what happens is, you come to the next day to the same hall, and then you see this flower is as it is. You know, it does not wither. Then a thing arises in you. For sure, the other person was right. Can it happen to you? Yes. This is a fake. This is a plastic flower. If it's a real flower, it should wither a little. Agree with me or not? Then so although you are not fully convinced, agree with me? You are not fully convinced because you are still seeing it from the distance. Okay. And then, but your mind is, yes, it must be a fake flower. Then it is a correct assumption or wrong assumption? Correct assumption. So you have upgraded to the correct assumption. Then next is, okay, subsequent second, okay, for next is inferential. Then you come, okay, then you ask somebody, you know, I think it's a fake flower because it's not withering. Then the person says, no, but some flower do not wither, you know, they wither only after 10 days. Okay, somebody tells you, and then again you have doubt. Then you say, okay, yeah, it could be true. And then you come to this hall after 10 days, and then you see this flower, same, okay, it doesn't wither. Then what will you say? Now for sure this is a fake flower. Why? You have a very sound reasoning that it did not wither at all. It did not wither. So where did you go now? Direct. Reason, you got a very sound reason that because this did not wither, it's not a real flower. Real flower always wither. Okay, so this is inferential. Are you seeing it directly, or did you touch the flower, or did you get a reasoning, powerful reasoning after 10 days? You got a reasoning, you resorted to a reasoning, a valid reasoning, very powerful reasoning, and you got 100% conviction that it is a fake flower, but still it is inferential. Agree with me or not? Then you become so desperate and you say, now I wasted a lot of time, let me go and touch it. Okay, and then you be very kind to yourself, and then you come closer to the flower and touch it, and then you say, yes, it was a plastic flower. So then it is a direct perception. Which one? Body sense consciousness. Okay, body sense consciousness, and this is most powerful. Now if anybody comes, okay, even if I come and say, after touching this is a real flower, what will you say? Sorry, you know, we don't want to learn psychology. Will you say this? Okay, so this is how powerful your direct valid cognition is. So this is a very simple example. You have to apply this to everything you learn here. To the wisdom of emptiness also, you have to upgrade from all these points, and also Tathagata Garbha, many other things you learn. You have to see how your mind goes through this journey from deceptive to direct. Okay, this is the goal. Okay, clear? Good. Okay, one or two questions before we wind up. We have 5 minutes. Okay, before we ask question, I'll make sure that you got it. Okay, what are the 7? Just say this once again so that next time you come, you have something. Direct valid cognize. Okay, how many of you can see this without, or say this without looking into your books? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, give the mic to the girl. Okay, without mic. Say it, say it.
First one is direct valid cognizer. Second one is inferential cognizer. Third is subsequent cognizer. Fourth is correctly assuming consciousness. And fourth is non-deserting perception. And fourth is sixth is doubting, and seventh is deception.
And you attended this panorama for the first time or
The second time.
wonderful, amazing? Should clap for. Okay, so did you hear the second part? What is the second part? It's for the second time, and so don't feel demoralized. It's always a second time. Okay, next class. Okay, say it together. Wonderful. What's your name? Rigzilla. Okay, thank you, Rigzilla, for everybody. Okay, now we'll do it together, and next time you can also say I am second time doing this. Okay, say it. Direct valid cognition. Next. Inferential cognizer. Next. Subsequent cognizer. Next. Correctly assuming consciousness. Then non-discerning direct perception. Then doubting consciousness. Then deceptive consciousness. Wonderful. Okay, good. Very good. Okay, here.
Pujala, we discussed that every subsequent cognition is less refined than the next. My confusion is about how doubting consciousness is less refined than non-discerning direct perception. And this is also what we skipped while discussing the flower journey. So I'm more when we're discerning something, shouldn't that be more refined than just using a
Non-discerning.
non-discerning?
Okay, so this you will learn. Okay, what I said is there are different ways of classifying the mind, correct or not? Okay, so one is known as conceptual mind and the non-conceptual mind. So these could be very technical for you, don't worry, you will learn during the classes. Okay, so the non-discerning direct perception is a direct perception. Okay, whereas the doubting consciousness you will learn is a conceptual consciousness. Okay, it's a conceptual consciousness. You have to okay, if you have asked the question, let me quickly do this. You see this flower directly? Yes, and then I ask you, okay, what is the color of this flower? Red. And then you think about the red flower. Think. Okay, how many of you saw red flower? Yes. Okay, did you see that directly, or you saw it through an image? It's this image technically known as generic image. So this is the consciousness which goes to its object or knows its object via images. That is known as conceptual. Okay, that is known as conceptual consciousness. So doubting consciousness are always conceptual consciousness. They are never engaging with the object directly. So these are technical things, don't worry about it. This will come. Okay, this will come. Next question before we wind up. Oh, do we do the dedication? Sorry, if not, okay. Okay, last question, guys.
There people are having their doubts that they can't shift their group. They have to supposed to sit on the same seat.
Okay.
This whole goes. Yeah, that was a joke. They don't want to sit.
Okay. Good.
They are telling that about the condition. The Dalai Lama is also forever remain happy.
Okay, who is Dalai Lama? Shakyamuni. Okay, so there is Shakyamuni Buddha different and Dalai Lama different. Okay, we say he's a manifestation. Okay, Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay, very good. So Dalai Lama is him. So I cannot say on his behalf, but what we learned, I can tell about my experience. If you ask me how can you tell that we can achieve maximum happiness or 100% happiness, then I can give you answer. But for sure, this is a valid question that, whether or not Dalai Lama is 100% happy or not, His Holiness is 100% happy or not. So, sometimes superficially you do see him always happy. Do you see him unhappy? Always happy. But still, even if you see somebody is always happy, but can you see 100% sure? Can you go to the direct valid cognition through your own experience, or you have to always infer through reasons? So where are you in case of this question? You can infer. Okay, we can infer. I'm not talking about the enlightened beings who can see other person's mind, but in the case of the ordinary beings, you can never see other person's mind. Okay, so you have to always resort to the second, inferential cognition. From the inferential cognition, I can say that he is happy, but I'm not sure about the 100%. But what we are learning, if you really practice, which he does, we all know that, he engages in the bodhicitta practices, he engages in the emptiness practices, he engages in the cleansing of the mind. Even His Holiness himself never says that, he has achieved something. He says that at times I also become sad, I also become, but becoming sad and it is affecting you. This you will learn during philosophy. These are two different things. Okay, to take an action depending on a situation and you being affected by this. There are two different things. There are two elements to it. Okay, so they can be, at times there can be situations, but are they affected or not? This is the second question. Okay, so from the inferential cognition, I'm just using the reasoning, so that I cannot be very sure. But that's a valid question. Okay, so for this case you have to resort to, okay, what is important to know is, for this case we have to resort to inferential cognition. We cannot see the Dalai Lama's mind directly. Agree with me or not? Yes, we have to resort to the reasoning, and best reasoning would be he himself tells. Agree? Okay, so that let's wait for him. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, good. Now who did the first? Yes. Okay, last here.
In people who are suffering from like mental disorder, how do you define mind in them? Like the concept of clarity and not knowing does not do justice to, I think, the...
Okay, very good question. What's your name?
Rigzin.
Rigzinla. Okay, so many Rigzins here. Okay, good. Okay, so what Rigzinla is asking, people who are suffering with a mental disorder, let's say, hallucination.
Sort of
schizophrenia, hallucination, so in these people's case, does the definition of the mind is still applicable or not? Okay, so the short answer is it is applicable everywhere. You will learn through the study of the logic that definition and definiendum, they have to fulfill 8 doors of pervasion. Okay, 8 doors of pervasion. In simple terms, wherever is the mind, it should be, okay, whatever is the mind should be clear and knowing. Okay, do these people who are hallucinating, do they have mind or not? Yes. This hallucination is the creation of the mind. Agree with me or not? Everybody is hallucinating or not? No, everybody is hallucinating. Not everybody is hallucinating. One person is hallucinating. So because of some disorder, some mental disorder, as you said. Okay, so this is also a mental activity. Okay, now mind they have for sure. Okay, now this mind is clear or knowing? Not. Logic says whatever is a mind should be clear and knowing, and whatever is clear and knowing should be a mind. So from this definition, yes, but how? This is a very good question. I can give the answer, but okay, so just apply the same thing with the way I answer to the blurred picture. Okay, images can form which is blurred, images can form which are wrong. Wrong consciousness is also a consciousness that is also clear and knowing. You know the wrong object very clearly and you know them also. Can you get the clue? The hallucinating mind, okay, for example, hallucinating mind is like you see the tiger in this hall. Okay, is it a valid mind or wrong mind? You start seeing the tiger in this hall. Is it a valid mind or wrong mind? Wrong mind. We call it a hallucination. Somebody starts screaming right now that there is an elephant, just run away. Okay, so this is a hallucination. So person's mind is seeing the image of the tiger. Okay, so image of the tiger coming to the person's mind clearly or blurry? Clearly. The very fact person is screaming is a proof that he or she is seeing the tiger very clearly. And where the image is formed? On the body or on the mind? Mind. So mind is clear in that case also. And now does the person know that the image of the tiger is formed on the mind? If you say no, you have to answer the next question, why the person is screaming. if he or she doesn't know. He or she does know that the image of the tiger is being formed on my mind, and that's why a person is screaming and is in fear. So both the aspects are there, okay, in the hallucinating mind also. Okay, good, finish, wonderful. I'm very happy you had so many questions. Let's go to dedication. Okay, who did the dedication? Lamala. Very good.
Please page to the page number 82.
82?
82. Additional dedication.
Okay, additional dedication prayers, page number 82. Lamola will lead us.
In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chandasi Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra do realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow the perfect examples. I dedicate all the rules of virtue with the dedication prayers as the best, by the victorious one, thus gone of the 3 times, so that I may perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the supreme Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has not arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. Changchu sem chorim boche Mage panans ke yushi Ke wanyang pa me paya Goni gondu pel varsho. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the stage of Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exceptions into the enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered toward the realization of the deeds and the prayers of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma and teaching and realization. May I in all life, through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of Mahana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect view, and the 2 stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge in the triple gem. I confess their negativity individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. The path of union of emptiness and compassion is lucidly explained by the protector of both the Dharma and the beings of the snowland. You are the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of the evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans and non-humans who hurl malice through devoted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the 3 jewels. In all my lives, never separated from perfect Gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the sages and the path. May I quickly attain the stage of Vajratara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teaching on dependent origination in particular, even at the cost of my life.
Thank you everyone. Good night. See you in the next session.
One small announcement. Those who haven't collected their receipt, please collect it from the reception downstairs from Chimit Kelson. He'll be there, and the tea and biscuits are served. Please have it and then leave. Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next class. Thank you.